Hello, Marky.
Hi, Rob.
How are you?
How's it, Rob?
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem.
Who's else with us? I see Gabriel joining us.
Auntie
How are
Louis.
you keeping, Rob?
Sorry?
How are you keeping?
I'm keeping Baruch Hashem well. We're trying
Good.
to be as careful as we can. You know, how are you?
Definitely.
How are you guys doing?
Baruch Hashem. Can't complain.
Good.
Just carry on.
We have to. And you, Marky, how are you doing? How are you feeling?
Same. Oh, I'm good. Baruch Hashem, fine.
Are you feeling better?
Yep. Thank you, Rob. And you?
Mordechai David Ben Leah. I'm sure that you remember him.
I think I still need some help.
Sorry?
I still need some help.
You still need a bit of help.
We're
Yeah.
davening. Don't stop davening. We're davening. Baruch Hashem, we're davening. How's everyone at home? Everyone well?
Yep. Thanks. Baruch Hashem.
That's good. That's very, very good. I'm happy to hear that. Any news, guys? News? I'm just waiting for more people to join because there's more and more people joining us. So we give them another 2 more seconds, and then Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll start the show and we'll try to explain. Today we're going to read Parashat Chukat. Parashat Chukat speak, and today I'm going to speak more than half of the shiur about the red heifer. And we'll see that the heifer is not a simple thing. We'll try to do as much as that we able to do for to explain the secret of the red heifer. Not that I understand, because no one understands. Even Shlomo HaMelech said in his book Kohelet, Hashavti ve'ehkama, that we'll explain in a show, but it's too far for me. Anyway, I think that what's the time now? 8 minutes, 8 and 3 minutes. Yeah, it's 8 o'clock, 3 minutes after. בעזרת השם נעשה ונצליח והשם עלינו ברחמיו ירוויח. I'm gonna mute everyone. Louis, you're gonna unmute yourself, okay? Okay, so we're starting the shiur, but first we're gonna dedicate the shiur in honor of the late Esther Kaden Bat Ketzia, Mordechai Ben Rahma, Harav Avraham Haim Ben Eliezer Yaakov, who else? Tamar Bat Zehava, Rachel Bat Malka Sultana, Yaakov Salomon Ben Farha, Dvora Ruth Bat Beila, Haim Eliyahu Ben Yeshayahu. Please God that it will be to uplift the neshama. In health of Liora Menashe Nati Ben Farha, Orna Bluma Bat Miriam, Harav Avraham Ben Marima, Harav Shlomo Yehuda Ben Dalia, Harav Moshe Ben Devora, Mordechai David Ben Leah, Yosef Ben Esther, Hannah Sarah Bat Devora, Dvora Bat Esther, Shlomo Pinchas Ben Sheina Fisha. Please God, refuah shlema to all of them, and to all Holei u'ptzoei Amo Israel, all the sick and the injured people of the Jewish people all over the world. And Be'ezrat Hashem, na'aseh v'natzliach, Parashat Chukat. Now I'm going to introduce the parsha like we usually do to understand what is the parsha going to speak, and then we go in depth for the parsha. So in the beginning of the parsha speak about the law of the red heifer, that who's obligated to do it, and we know that the Kohen have to do it. And there is a special secret about it that we'll speak, and we'll see something that it's very opposite in the law of the, in the law of the red heifer. After that, the Torah speak about the death of Miriam HaNeviah, the sister of Moshe and Aaron, then the well that was providing water for Bnei Israel in a wilderness steadily stopped flowing. There's no more water to the Jewish people, and we know that the nation start complaining to Moshe Rabbeinu and to Aaron to bring them water. Why did you take us out of Egypt? to kill us in the wilderness with thirst. We know the story. Moshe Rabbeinu hit the rock instead of talking to the rock like a Kadosh Baruch Hu speak to him. After that, the Torah tells us about the death of Aharon HaKohen and the appointment of his son Elazar to become the new Kohen Gadol. And after that, the Torah speak about the death of Aaron. We explain and the appointment of Elazar, and all the Jewish people mourning to Aaron HaKohen. What they never done, not to Miriam and not to Moshe, very different. Be'ezrat Hashem, if we'll have time, we'll explain that. Towards the end of the Parsha, we see something very interesting. It's the copper snake. The story of the copper snake that HaKadosh Baruch Hu command Moshe Rabbeinu to do. That Moshe Rabbeinu must do it. We'll speak about it in the end of the Parsha. We'll see what's special about it. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu command Moshe Rabbeinu to do a snake, a shape of a snake that made from a copper. And whenever I speak about it, I know that every person that become a doctor, and Dr. Gabriel Britz can obviously tell us that when a doctor, before they become a doctor, they have to take an oath. And one of the things that they have is the shape of a snake. It's something that all the doctor obviously have there. So we see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu command Moshe Rabbeinu to make a snake to cure the Jewish people from the plague that he sent on them. It's the burning snake. Why? Because they spoke Lashon Hara on HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Moshe Rabbeinu. And why did they brought them out of Egypt to kill them in the wilderness, and they're not happy with the manna, and etc. In Parashat Chukat, we have only 3 positive commands. There's no negative command, only 3 positive commands. So that's the introduction for the beginning of Parashat Chukat. We're going to start the Parsha. Louis, are you with me?
I'm with you. Thank you, Rav. I'm working.
So can I start with your permission? Yeah. Okay, so Parashat Chukat start in chapter 19, verse 1, like this, and it says like this: וידבר אדוני אל משה ואל אהרון לאמור.
Hashem spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying.
Okay. One thing that we have to understand, by that the Torah tells us, וידבר השם אל משה ואל אהרון לאמור, is something that we have to understand. There is certain parsha that HaKadosh Baruch Hu speak only to Moshe Rabbeinu. There is certain parshiyot that HaKadosh Baruch Hu speak only to Aaron HaKohen. We have certain parshiyot that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a matter of fact, speak to Aaron and Moshe together, like, for example, in our parsha. And we have to understand, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu have to speak to Aaron, not only to Moshe? The secret of the red heifer, only HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Moshe Rabbeinu knew. No one else in the world knows the secret of the red heifer. Be'ezrat Hashem, in the end of the show, we'll try to explain a little bit about the red heifer. Just now we'll explain about the red heifer, what's hiding behind it. And we'll see that we don't understand nothing about the red heifer. So the question is, Moshe Rabbeinu knew the secret of the red heifer. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should speak to him. But why did he speak also to Aaron? And that's the point. The Mefarshim explain, because we know that Aaron was the Kohen Gadol. Kohen Gadol not allowed to do or to get contaminated. That means Aaron HaKohen cannot make the red heifer. Why? Because Kohen Gadol not allowed to contaminate even to his closer family. Kal vachomer, how much so not to do the red heifer? Why? Because the Kohen that do the red heifer get contaminated. By that he take the ash of the red heifer and he sprinkle on that person that contaminated, the contaminated person become pure, and the Kohen that was pure suddenly become contaminated. And Kohen Gadol not allowed to do that. Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu speak to Moshe and Aaron to tell Aaron that you're not allowed to do it. Who gonna do it? Elazar HaKohen. Who's Elazar HaKohen? The vice to the Kohen Gadol. That's Aaron's son. And that's the main reason that it said there, untantem unetantem ota el Elazar HaKohen. That you should give it to who this job? To Elazar. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu because he knew the secret of the red heifer. He spoke to Aaron, you know why? So Aaron will know that the Kohanim Gdolim not allowed to get contaminated to do the red heifer. And that's the secret. And that's why it said, Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe ve'el Aaron, that he spoke to both of them. In verse 2, I'm moving to verse 2. Zot Chukat HaTorah, asher tziva Adonai le'emor. דבר אל בני ישראל, ויקחו אליך פרה אדומה תמימה, אשר אין בה מום, אשר לא עלה עליה עול.
This is the decree of the Torah which Hashem has commanded, saying, speak to the children of Israel, and they shall take to you a completely red cow, which is without blemish, and upon which a yoke has not come.
Okay, so there is here a few things that we have to understand about the red heifer. And as I mentioned, I'm going to spend quite a bit of time, most probably at least a half of the shiur, about the red heifer. It says Zot Chukat. Chukah, it's a law. It's a law if you translate it to English. But Chukah, it's also a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu commands us to make the red offer. Pashut. That means that we have a law that called the red heifer to do when the Kohen Gadol, when Bet HaMikdash exists. So far been done 9. The Rambam explained that 9 red heifer been done so far. When the Messiah come, when the Mashiach come, he will do the 10 red heifer, and then he build the Bet HaMikdash, and we're all going to be pure. That means the Torah tells us to make a red heifer. But we don't understand, or we don't have the ability to understand the reason behind that secret. And said the Marana Bet Yosef. Marana Bet Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Karo, born in the city of Toledo in Spain 533 years ago. And he explained from that it says Zot Chukat HaTorah, that's referring that law, what is it referring? Obviously, to the red heifer. That means it's a law, okay, with no reason, with no explanation for the Jewish people. But if certain people come and ask the Jewish people, why are you doing the red heifer? Why are you burning a red heifer? We're explaining how to do it, that you take the hyssop, you have to take the tolat shani, and all different things that you have to put inside the cedar tree, and you burn it with. Anyway, it's not for now. We've done it before. We brought that the explanation of the Rambam, Bilchot Para Aduma, how they used to do it, how they used to burn it, how they used to shake it and hit it until the ash comes. But, said the Marana Bet Yosef, if people are going to come and ask the Jewish people, if the nation going to ask, if certain people from the Jewish nation will ask, why are you doing that mitzvah? That there's no really explanation, and you can't explain why you're doing it. So we should answer them like this: Asher tziva Hashem la, Asher tziva Hashem. That means HaKadosh Baruch Hu command us to do it. That's on the pshat of the dvarim. And he say that usually the Jewish people love to ask questions, because there's nothing in our Torah that we don't ask questions. But in that, we don't have the ability or the wisdom to understand the depths of Para Aduma. And said the Marana Bet Yosef like this. He said that if people come and ask you that they want to do it, you should say to them that they want to understand what's the secret behind it. You should answer that to them like this. When you go into a specialized doctor, a doctor that is specialized, you don't ask too many questions. You need his advice, you go and you take his advice. And you're davening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give that doctor the right wisdom to cure you. He's saying, but when the doctor writes you the script and the medication, you don't ask too many questions. Why? Because you trust the doctor that he knows what he's doing. That means that the medication that he prescribed for you to take, you trust 100% the doctor that he knows what he's doing. That means he say like this. He say that when it's come to the Jewish people, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is our doctor. He's our specialist. If he commands us to do this mitzvah, we should do it without asking question. The same like we don't ask the specialist why he prescribed this kind of medication. And that's the idea behind Zot Chukat. What it means Chukat? It's a law, it's a mitzvah. But come al Sheikh HaKadosh, Rabbi Moshe al-Sheikh. Rabbi Moshe al-Sheikh, I explained many times, he born in a city of Andripoli in Turkey 514 years ago. And he says, why from all the mitzvot that we have in the Torah, there is many mitzvot that the Torah give us, that we have many laws that we don't really understand, that we don't understand, let's put it like this, the reason behind them. Why dafka the Torah come and tell us the law of Para Aduma, that there is a law that's called red heifer, and that's a Chukat, that's a mitzvah that you have to do. So he explained like this. He said because the law of Para Aduma is so confusing to people that they might gonna come to make a mistake with it. Why is it? We know, and we explained it earlier, that when the Kohen take the ash of the red heifer, in a moment that he throw it on a person that is contaminated, on that second, that person that was contaminated become pure, the Kohen that was pure become contaminated. That means that there is here exactly the opposite what people will think. They will say because the Kohen is pure, now he can purify who? The contaminator. The Torah come and tell us exactly the opposite. The Torah come and tell us that Kohen that was pure, and the same moment that he sprinkle or throw the ash on the person that was contaminated to a deceased, okay, immediately that person that was contaminated become pure and cleansed. But the Kohen that was pure and cleansed become now contaminated, and people might gonna make mistake. So said Al Sheikh HaKadosh, that's the main reason that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told us that this is a law. That don't get confused with that. Don't ask too many questions. This is the law. And now, Be'ezrat Hashem, I want to do with you some gematria, quite a bit of gematria, to understand where is the secret, what is the secret of Para Aduma. Not that I understand, but what the Kabbalistic Rabbi revealed to us, what the greatest Rabbonim, the greatest clever wisdom people, righteous people, explain a little bit to understand for us to understand a bit what's hiding behind the red heifer. So the Torah tells us in a verse, Zot Chukat Torah asher tziva. The word tziva is command, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu command us. Say Ari HaKadosh. Ari HaKadosh, Rabbi Yitzhak Luria Ashkenazi. He born in the city of Tzfat in Eretz Israel, and he born 487 years ago. And he say, if you take the word tziva, tzadik, vav, hey. Tzadik is 90, vav is 6, hey is 5, together 101. The gematria of the word tziva is 101. But the number 101 have a great significance, Rabotai. And you'll see now what the great significance behind the number 101. And the Ari HaKadosh say like this, there is an angel in heaven for everything in the world. We all know. There is an angel that's in charge about the forgiveness that people forget. And he's in charge about it. His name is Mem Samech. Mem is 40, Samech is 60, together is 100. He said that a person that even if he study 100 times the same thing, that angel, because his gematria is 100, he have the authority, has v'shalom, to take from the person and to make him forget all what he studied. But he say if a person study 101 times, like we mentioned Tziva, he will never forget. Why? Because he's above the number 101. And he said, not only that, who's the angel that's in charge about the Jewish people? Michael. Michael, gematria, 101. Mem is 40. Yud is 10. Together is 50. Chaf is 20, 70. Aleph is 1. Okay, so it's 71. Lamed is 30. Together 101. The gematria of Michael, that he is the Sar Israel, the angel that's in charge about the Jewish people, is 101. That's why the angel that's in charge about people forgetting things cannot overcome. Because he, until the number 100 that you repeat things, he can make you forget. But when it's come to 101, Michael already jumping in and no one can forget. Okay, so what's the connection between 101 that it's remembering to the red heifer? So on a pshat of the dvarim, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu tziva. But explain the Ari HaKadosh like this. He say, when a person have been thrown by the red ash on him, immediately, not only that he become pure and cleansed, listen to that, his heart and his mind become open and become so cleansed and so pure that he remember everything that he learned in the Torah, and he can never forget. And that's why it say Asher Tziva Hashem. What it mean Asher Tziva Hashem? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu command us today that we don't have the red heifer. Instead, what if you want to remember you're studying, what you should do? Repeat it 101 times. Everything that you study, repeat it 101 times. And this is a guarantee, say Ari HaKadosh, that was a great Kabbalistic, that you will remember everything that you study in the Torah. Then later on the Torah tell us, Ve'yikhu elecha para aduma. Para. Why does it have to be a cow? Why dafka cow? So I saw a beautiful commentary that brought by Rashi HaKadosh. Rashi HaKadosh, Rabbi Shlomo Yitzhaki, he was born in the north of France in the city of Troyes 981 years ago. But he bring in the name of Moshe Adarshan. Moshe Adarshan, some people say that was his rabbi, Rashi's rabbi. I'm not sure. I tried to look for it. I couldn't find it. Rabbi Moshe Adarshan, all what I can find about him, that he lived, okay, in the 11th century, okay? And Rabbi Moshe Adarshan explained like this, that all the idea of the red heifer is to do atonement for the golden calf. That means everything that hiding behind the red heifer that we explain if people got contaminated that was with the disease is one idea. He said, no, there is another thing. He explained that there is something else. What there is behind it, he explained that it's come to do atonement for the golden calf. Can you believe it? The golden calf. And he said, and he bring a parable. He said, why dafka it have to be a cow? So he said like this. He bring a parable that a domestic woman working in a palace of the king. And she have a little baby. And that little baby that she had, make a mess. Make a mess where? In a palace. And who saw that? It's been told to the ministers. So the ministers say, listen, the mother of that baby that make that mess, that couldn't control himself, she must come and clean up the mess that he make. She's obligated. Say Rabbi Moshe Darshan, you know what the moral? The moral is, you know why a cow? Because the cow is the mother of the calf, the golden calf. How do you do atonement to the sin of the golden calf? By that you take a cow, and you take the cow, with the ash of the cow, you do atonement for the golden calf. That's Rabbi Moshe Darshan. Okay. Then it say aduma, it have to be red. According to the pshat of the Dvarim, why dafka red? Because we know that the color red symbol sin. Where do we learn that? Chazal in Gemara in Masechet Yoma that speak about all the laws of Yom Kippur. The law of Yom Kippur. There Chazal explained that they used to hang a red string on top of the Bet HaMikdash, Ba'azara, okay? And when the Kohen Gadol used to enter the Kodesh HaKodashim and do atonement for the Jewish people, that red string used to turn to white. Why dafka white? Chazal explained the main reason for white is dafka. You know why? Because white represents mercy and compassion. Okay? So that's according to the pshat of the Dvarim, why dafka red heifer? To remind the Jewish people the sin that they done in Het HaEgel. But why dafka red? So I saw another beautiful explanation that brought by Harav Ben Zion Muchavi that I always bring from time to time. And he said, if you take the gematria of aduma, the word aduma, Aleph, Daled, Mem, Hey, like it's written in the Torah without the vav, Aleph, Daled, Mem, Hey. Take the gematria of it, you'll see that the gematria of it, a matter of fact, is 50. Aleph is 1, okay? Daled is 4, together is 5. Mem is 40, is 45. Hey is 5, together is 50. You say, you know what's hiding behind it? What's hiding behind it? It's the 50 level of wisdom. Hamishim Sha'are Bina. That means that the red heifer help a person to reach to the 50th level of wisdom. How does it work? He said by that the Kohen will throw on the Jewish people when the Mashiach comes, they will throw on us the Efer Paraduma, the ash of the red heifer. Immediately, not only that we're going to be cleansed, that our mind, our soul, our heart, everything going to be so pure that we can understand the Torah. Why? Because when a person make averot, he builds shell, klipot, they call it, bisfatam kubalim. What it means, klipot? Klipot is a shell. Every avera that you do, you create a barrier that's called a shell between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu to understand his secret of the Torah. How do we cleanse it? By that we do in mitzvot. But there is an easy way that they explain the Kabbalistic Rabbi. The Kabbalistic Rabbi explained when a person been thrown with a red Ephas Hesh, immediately cleanse, and all of those barriers been removed, and he can understand all the secret of the Torah. Come Rabbi Chaim ben Attar. Rabbi Chaim ben Attar, born in a city of Sali in Morocco 325 years ago. But what it means Attar? Attar in Arabic, it means spices. That means that his family and him used to deal with spices. He used to sell spices. And in his commentary on the Torah that's called Or HaChaim HaKadosh, he explained like this. He said that we all know that there is 50 level of wisdom. 50 level of wisdom. He said that there's nothing to compare to the 50th level. Even if you take all the 49, it's not even comparable to the 50th level. And he explained like this. Say Rabbi Chaim ben Attar, and he given us a parable. He given us, analogy. And he says that when a person take a bucket and he fill it up from the sea, that's equivalent to the 49 level of wisdom. He said, whatever left on the sea, that's the 50th level of wisdom. That means that you learn from here. What is it? Para Aduma. What is the secret of Para Aduma? How much the Para Aduma can help the Jewish people? Number one, by cleansing them on a pshat of the dvarim, to pure them. But not only that, it's purifying the soul, it's purifying the mind, and it's purifying the memory, that we can remember and understand everything. And Shlomo HaMelech, the King Solomon, HaChacham Mikol Adam, that was the smartest man ever was. Say in the book of Kohelet, in chapter 7, in verse 23, Amarti ehkama, I say I will be clever. I said to myself, I can reach to the 50th level. But I realized that it's too far for me. So if Shlomo HaMelech said that, and he was the smartest man, the King Solomon, what are we going to say? So we don't understand what's hiding behind the red heifer. And that's the secret of the red heifer. On the tips, we didn't even penetrate what it's doing. And why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted us to have Dafka the red heifer? We explain on the pshat of the dvarim, on the drash, okay, a little bit of the sod, that it's mainly to do atonement for the golden calf. That number two, it's for awards the 50th level of Bina. Why Dafka the Kohen have to do it and not the Kohen Gadol? Because we don't understand how come that the Kohen that do it, he get contaminated, but he was pure. All by that he throw it on the person that was contaminated, immediately he become contaminated, and the person that was contaminated become pure. There's many things that we don't understand, but just a bit. Now that we spoke most of the shiur, or half of the shiur, about the red heifer, I would like to jump now to chapter 20. In chapter 20, verse 1, we see something very interesting. It said, "Vayavohu bnei Israel kol ha'eda midbar tzin b'chodesh harishon, vayeshev ha'am bekadesh v'tamot sham Miriam v'tikaber sham."
The children of Israel, the whole assembly, arrived at the wilderness of Zin in the first month, and then the people settled in Kadesh. Miriam died there, and she was buried there.
Okay, so first of all, let me give you some history about what happened. Miriam and Neviah, Miriam that was the sister of Aaron and Moshe, Rabbeinu, she died in Yud Nisan, on the 10th of Nisan, in the year 2487. That means right at the beginning of the 40 years that the Jewish people was in the wilderness, right towards the beginning of the 40 years. Okay, she died in Midbar Tzin. Midbar Tzin, it's actually, obviously, it's in Midbar Sinai, and she died in Kadesh Barnea. In Kadesh Barnea, there was for 19 years. For 19 years, they park on the same place. They rested for 19 years in Kadesh Barnea from the 40 years. Okay? Hazal tell us something extraordinary in Gemara in Masechet Ta'anit in page 9, folio 2. Listen to that. Hazal tell us like this. Shlosha parnasim tovim amdu liYisrael, Moshe, Aaron, and That means 3 good people that brought livelihood to the Jewish people. That's all. 3 good people was for the Jewish people that provide livelihood for them, and there was Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam. That's what the Gemara in Masechet Ta'anit said. And I saw a beautiful commentary that Hazal explained it. Hazal explained something extraordinary. Hazal explained what it means they brought livelihood, those 3. So number one, we have to understand Moshe Rabbeinu, in the merit of Moshe Rabbeinu, the manna came. The Jewish people eat from the manna for 40 years in the wilderness. In the merit of Aharon HaKohen, they have the cloud of glory. that they didn't need to have a shower, they didn't need to go to a hairdresser, they didn't need to have a tailor, they didn't need a shoemaker. Everything was growing with them. They didn't need air conditioning, they didn't need heating in a winter, nothing. Everything provided by the cloud of glory. In the merit of who? Of Aaron HaKohen. Miriam, what did she provide? The well. That means for 40 years that Bnei Israel was in a wilderness, the water that they drank, it was Be'era Shel Miriam. That means the well of Miriam. That means that for 40 years until she died, that well was flowing. And Hazal tell us and explain that when Miriam died, as we're reading now, that Miriam died, what happened? That flow of water stopped. The well of Miriam stopped, doesn't flow anymore. We know that immediately the Jewish people come and complain to Moshe and Aaron, and Moshe and Aaron daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he will bring back water for the entire assembly, that they will have enough water. And we know the story that instead of speaking to the rock, Moshe Rabbeinu hit the rock. We'll explain that just now. So after Miriam died, the well stopped from flowing. What's happened? Moshe and Aaron daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and in the merit of both of them, they have again water. When Aaron died, the cloud of glory disappeared. Moshe Rabbeinu again daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the merit of Moshe Rabbeinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought back what? The cloud of glory. So now Bnei Israel have again the well and the cloud of glory. Hazal continue and say, when Moshe Rabbeinu died, just before Bnei Israel into Eretz Israel, what's happened? The manna stopped. But not only the manna, the well doesn't flow anymore, and the cloud of glory disappear. And I saw a beautiful commentary that brought by Rabbi Shlomo Amsalem. Rabbi Shlomo Amsalem, born in the city of Midlat in Morocco, he born 141 years ago. And he says something extraordinary. He says, if you take the acronym of the word man, be'er, and anan, man is the manna, be'er is the well, anan is the cloud. He says, if you take the acronym of the word man is mem, the acronym of be'er is bet, the acronym of cloud is anan, is ain. He say you can get the different acronym, and everything is hinted in the Torah. He say that mem, bet, ain stand for Moshe ben Amram, Moshe the son of Amram, that in his merit everything was. That means in the merit of Miriam, what do we have? The well, the water. In the merit of Aaron, the cloud of glory. In the merit of Moshe, the manna. But when they both die, Moshe Rabbeinu can bring it all back. And that's what it says, man, that the manna, man, Be'er, and Anan, everything can be in the merit of who? Of Moshe Rabbeinu. That's Moshe ben Amram. How extraordinary is it? Let's move to verse 10. I'm jumping because the time is a bit, it's running. Sure, time is running, yeah. Okay, verse 10. ויקהלו משה ואהרון את הקהל אל פני הסלע, ויאמרו להם, שמעו נא המורים, המין הסלע הזה נוציא לכם מים?
Moshe and Aaron gathered the congregation before the rock, and they said to them, listen now, O rebels, shall we bring forth water for you from this rock?
Okay, on the Parashat of the Dvarim, Moshe and Aaron gathered the entire Jewish assembly, all the people, and they brought them in the front of the rock, and they said to him, look, from that rock, we're going to bring water. But they called them rebel. Shim'una Amorim. Listen, you rebel. And why did I brought it? Is to teach us Musa. I saw a beautiful commentary of Ari HaKadosh. Ari HaKadosh bring it in Sha'ar HaPsukim. In Eitz HaChaim, there is all different books that he put it, not him, his student, the Maharhu, bring it according to one that called the verse, Sha'ar HaPsukim, Sha'ar HaYir'ah, the fear, all different. It's a Kabbalistic book. It's not lo pashut. And also it's brought in a book that called Likutei Torah. Likutei Torah is a book on Pirushim, on Parashat Hashavua, that again, that been written by the Mahar, because the Ari HaKadosh never wrote himself no books, okay? There is Kitvei Ari, but that's from, again, the Mahar. So it said the Mahar in the name of the Ari. A person has to be very, very careful not to call Jewish people, not to call them by names. Has v'shalom. He said, look, by that Moshe and Aaron, especially Moshe, call them names, immediately they've been punished. And we know the punishment. Not only that, he says something extraordinary. He said that Aviyah Melech, Aviyah that was a king of the Jewish people, by that he spoke badly about the Jewish people, actually given them a name, that he said, Ve'imachem agle zahav, that with you is the golden car, he been punished and he died in a plague. That's brought, if you want to see it, there in Divrei Hayamim, chapter 2, verse 13 and verse 18. He died. Also, we know the prophet Zechariah. He also spoke about the Jewish people and he'd been punished. By he called them name, that Yoash killed them. Yeshayahu Hanavi also called the Jewish people name. He said to them, Betoch am tameh sfatayim anochi yoshev, amongst a nation that tameh sfatayim, that contaminated mouths, I'm sitting. He'd been punished that Menashe killed him, King Menashe. So say Ari HaKadosh, for me here, you have to be careful. From that verse come to teach us how much the Jewish people have to be careful, even if we friend, not to call someone else, not to give a name, not to call people by names, not to call names to people. How much people have to be careful, Has v'shalom, because by that you call people names, it's very, very dangerous. I don't want to mention. And we saw what punishment happened to those that give names to Jewish people. Let's move to verse 11. That was just for us for some. In verse 11, it says something very interesting. Look what it says. Vayarem Moshe et yado, vayach et הסלע במטהו, פעמיים, ויצאו מים רבים, ותש את העדה ובעירם.
Then Moses raised his arm and struck the rock with his staff twice. Abundant water came forth, and the assembly and the animals drank.
Okay, here we see that Moshe Rabbeinu struck the rock. We spoke about it, why dafka twice. Rashi HaKadosh explained that the first time that he struck it, came blood. The second time came the water, we explained. But the question that we have to understand, why did Moshe Rabbeinu strike the rock? Well, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, speak to the rock. Why Moshe Rabbeinu didn't speak to the rock? Rabbi, I'm going in depth here. Please focus with me. If you don't understand, I'll give you a second and then unmute and ask question. Listen to that. The Mefarshim explained something extraordinary. The main reason that Moshe didn't hit the rock, didn't speak to the rock, and he hit the rock, was a secret behind it. One of the mitzvot that we have in the Torah, lo tenachashu, that we have a mitzvah from the Torah that people should not whisper. Why? Because the witchcrafters, they're the one that whispers. We know that there's certain people doing it with bones of a human being. There's certain people doing it with the animals. The Torah explained to us, they take the bones of a deceased, a human being, and they whispers. Anyway, it's not for now. One of the negative command that we have of the Torah, lo tenachashu, and that negative command brought in Sefer Vayikra, in Parashat Kedoshim, in chapter 19, verse 26. Moshe Rabbeinu was worried that if suddenly he's going to speak to the rock, the assembly will see it. And the Jewish nation is going to say, look, Moshe Rabbeinu whispering, and he's speaking to rocks. It's the same like the idol worshippers do it. He said, in that case, Moshe Rabbeinu said, am I going to cause people to worship idols, to start worshiping idols? By that I'm going to speak to the rock, they will translate it the wrong way. And that can cause other people, has v'shalom, to start whispering. Moshe Rabbeinu said, in that case, I'm going to hit the rock and not going to speak to the rock. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu hit the rock and not spoke to the rock. Now we can understand. If there is any question, I'll say I'll give you a second, but I prefer not to stop the flowing the show, only if it's urgent. Okay, good. No question. Let's move to verse 18. And in verse 18, we see something very interesting. Look at that. ויאמר אליו אדום, לא תעבור בי, פן בחרב אצא לקראתך.
And Edom said to him, you shall not pass through me, lest I come against you with the sword.
Okay, here we see that the Jewish people, when they was on the way, they passed the land of Edom. They were to make this the road shorter, you know, the journey shorter to go to Eretz Israel. Before they sent the golden calf, they spoke to the king of Edom, will you allow us to go through your country? What does the king of Edom say? No, I don't want you to go through my country. If you go through my country, I'm going to go against you. I'm going to come against you. I'm going to fight against you. And we have to understand why the king of Edom didn't allow the Jewish people to go through his country. And we know that when they ask him, they promise him that they're not going to drink from the water of his country. They're not going to walk in his vineyard or his orchard or the field that he has. They're going to walk only when there is Derech HaMelech. Derech HaMelech is a walkway where there is things that been paved, that's specially been made for people to walk. So what is the king of Edom have to lose that he said no? So the answer to that lie in the word pen. What it means, pen? If. That's the answer to it, it's there. Say that question been asked by Rabbi Yehuda Aryeh Lev Alter. Rabbi Yehuda Aryeh Lev Alter, born in Poland 174 years ago. He was the third Guru Rebbe, okay, giant in Torah. And he asked this question. And he explained it. He given a beautiful answer to it. And say Rabbi Yehuda Aryeh Lev Alter like this. He said, you know why the king of Edom didn't want the Jewish people to cross through its country? He said the answer lie in a word pen. Pen it means if. He said, you know that the king of Edom knew that at the moment he have nothing to lose. If the Jewish people are going to go through his country, what will he lose? Nothing. They're not drinking, they're not eating, they're not walking through his orchard or his vineyard or his field to destroy anything. Nothing to lose. They're just going to go across. He said that the answer lie if. The king of Edom was worried about one thing, that if one day will be a war between Bnei Israel and the land of Edom, now that I allowed the Jewish people to cross my country, they already saw everything about my country. They saw where is all the strategic place in Edom. They know where is the weakness of the land of the Edom. They know where is the army sitting. They know everything. The main reason, say Rabbi Yehuda, that the main reason for it, that he was frightened that the Jewish people, if he allowed them to cross his country, to go through his country, they'll find out where is all the strategical place in his country, and if it will be a war, Has v'Shalom, they might gonna win the war. And that's the main reason, that he didn't allow the Jewish people to go through his country. So now we can understand why the king of Edom didn't allow the Jewish people to go through his country. That's how Rabbi Yehuda Aryeh Lev Alter explained the main reason why the king of Edom didn't want the Jewish people to go through his land. And we can understand. Let's move on to chapter 21, verse 8. 21:8. And here we see something very interesting. I promised that we're going to speak about the snake, and let's try to explain a little bit about the snake. That's the copper snake. ויאמר אדוני אל משה, עשה לך שרף, ושים אותו על נס, והיה כל הנשוך, וראה אותו וחי.
Hashem said to Moses, make for yourself a fiery serpent and place it on a pole, and it will be that anyone who was bitten will look at it and live.
Okay. Before I'll go to the depths of it, I want to explain what's happened. Bnei Israel spoke about HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Moshe Rabbeinu. You're giving us the manna. We're eating the manna. We don't have to go, excuse my language, to the toilet. We don't have to do big. Something wrong with that kind of a bread that you send us, this manna. They spoke Lashon Hara on HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Moshe Rabbeinu. That means you took us out, the nation. That's the multi-nation that came out with Bnei Israel out of Egypt. They said to Moshe Rabbeinu, you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu took us on Egypt. You know why? You want to kill us in the wilderness. Immediately, HaKadosh Baruch Hu got so cross. What has he done? He sent the firing snake. What does it mean, the firing snake? The firing snake, it's a snake that actually shoot fire and burn the human being. Immediately, the Jewish people saw that the multi-nation dying, them and those from the multi-nation, ran to Moshe Rabbeinu and pledge and plague, please, daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to stop that kind of a plague. Moshe Rabbeinu, we know that accepted the request, and he davened to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu stopped what? That plague. But what does he say in the verse? Look what it says. Aseh lecha, you should do for yourself. And immediately all the Mefarshim jump and say, why does it say Aseh lecha? You should do it to yourself. Why? So I saw a beautiful commentary of Rabbeinu Behaye. Rabbeinu Behaye was two Rabbeinu Behaye. The first Rabbeinu Behaye is Rabbeinu Behaye ibn Paquda. He born also in the city of Saragossa in Spain. He born 879 years ago. Rabbeinu Behaye ben Asher, that wrote, the Rabbeinu Behaye ibn Paquda wrote the book Obligation of the Heart. Rabbeinu Behaye that I'm going to bring now, it's Rabbeinu Behaye ben Asher. He born also in the city of Saragossa in Spain, but he born 766 years ago. He also wrote Kata Kemah, the jug of flour. But in his commentary on our Torah, he wrote something extraordinary. He said that the main reason that HaKadosh Baruch Hu command, listen to that, Moshe Rabbeinu, to make a snake, that the Jewish people will look at it, and will lift up their eyes into it. It's going to be stand on the top of a stick. And the Jewish people look at that. Immediately they're going to be cured. According to the Pshat of the Dvarim, lift up your eyes to heaven and you'll understand where is everything coming from. Everything is from God. He said, but something in the depths. He explained something beautifully in the depths. He said that the Kadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu, when you daven to me, I immediately forgive the Jewish people. What? I forgive that they spoke about me. So I stopped the plague. But I want you to do something that the Jewish people, those multinations that came out with Bnei Israel, the multination, will see, will understand, and it will be publicized. I want you to make something for yourself that people have to understand that they're going to speak about you. Because when it's come to me, I can forgive that they spoke about me, now that you daven to me. But it's not enough. Before I stop completely the plague, I want you to do something that they must see, that they have to respect also you. Say HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Moshe Rabbeinu, what has he done? He done the snake. Why? Because the same poison, that's the same cure. That's on Pshat of the Dvarim. Say Rabbeinu Bechaya is something extraordinary. Listen to that. Rabbeinu Bechaya say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu, when it's come to me, I can forgive Ma'ana. Why? Because you daven for me, you done atonement for them. I don't mind. For that, I don't mind. But when it's come to your respect, to your honor, they have to understand, they have to see, they have to know, and it has to be published. That they cannot speak on Gdolei Israel. That means that they cannot speak badly about righteous people. And I saw a beautiful thing that mentioned in the Psikta de Rabbi Rav Kahana in chapter 5, verse 6. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Has HaKadosh Baruch Hu al kvodo shel tzadik yoter mikvodo. That means HaKadosh Baruch Hu spare his own honor more than the honor of a tzaddik. That means HaKadosh Baruch Hu make sure that if people has v'shalom speak lashon hara about Talmidei Chachamim Gdolei Torah, righteous people, people that they are righteous, that they scholar people, if you speak about them, the punishment coming immediately. Say, from here you learn, say Rabbeinu Bechaya, how much people have to be careful, to be so careful before they speak about Talmidei Chachamim Gdolei Israel, righteous people. Because you don't know what's waiting to come. HaKadosh Baruch Hu spare his own honor. Just don't speak about Gdolei Israel, the giant of the Jewish people. What it means, the giant scholar people. Talmidei Chachamim, Gdolei Israel. And lo alenu, sometime you hear every person open his mouth and talk about Gdolei Israel. Who the hell you are to speak about Gdolei Israel? I'm especially using that word. Gdolei Israel, they finish all the Shas. To you, they look simple. Do you know what they know, the secret of the Torah? You know how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu loved them? And you come and you talk like it's a free ride. How much we have to be careful. Say Rabbeinu Bechaya, here HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu, make that snake. You know why you're making that snake? Not for me, for you, Moshe. That the Jewish people will respect you. And the multination amongst you that caused the Lashon Hara, that I send those firing snake, will see, will understand, and it will be publicized that you're not allowed to speak about Gdolei Israel. That's Rabbeinu Bechaya. And how much, now for us, moral, what can we learn from it? How much each one of us have to be careful when you're speaking about Gdolei Israel. When Gdolei Israel says something, it's like Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe bedoro, כמו יפתח בדורו. What does it mean? Moshe in his time was Moshe Rabbeinu? He's the Moshe, he's our rabbi? That's exactly the Gdolei Ador. When you have a rabbi, he's Gadol Ador. Whatever he tell you, do. Don't try to say, no, you don't understand. Do you know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed to him before you start talking? We have to be careful how we speak with Gdolei Israel, the big Rabbonim. And unfortunately, sometimes you see people just shooting, talking like they know everything. How much we have to be careful. Be'ezrat Hashem, that we should all merit to respect HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to respect Talmidei Chachamim, Gdolei Israel, those that learn the Torah, to speak only good about every Jew, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will see that there is Ahavat Hinam, baselet love. When we see that we united, we love each other, and we speak good about every Jew, we speak only the best about Gdolei Israel, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will see it, will send us Mashiach Tzidkenu, and will build the third Beit HaMikdash speedily in our day. Amen ken yeh ratzon. If you have any question, now is the time. Please unmute yourself and you can ask question. And I'll try to answer if I can. Be'ezrat Hashem. Bechavod.
Hello, Anthony Furman. How are you?
Hello, Mr. Anthony Furman. How are you?
All right, thanks. How are you?
Yom Yom. Baruch Hashem.
It says that King Solomon understood every single mitzvah, 612 mitzvahs, but the one mitzvah he could not understand was Parah Udama. Every other mitzvah he understood in the Torah. Is that true?
Nachon. I don't know if you was in a show. I don't know what time you come.
I came late.
I know, because I see. And what did he say? He said in Sefer Kohelet, in the book of Kohelet, in chapter 7, in verse 23. Amarti ehkama. Shlomo HaMelech say, Amarti ehkama. I'll become wise. I'll have wisdom. Vehi rachoka mimeni. But it's so far from me. Why? I was thinking that I understand everything about the Torah, all the reason behind every mitzvah, except one mitzvah. What is it? The red heifer. That he couldn't understand. You follow? Shlomo HaMelech already said that where? In the book of Kohelet. You follow, Anthony?
And Moshe Rabbeinu, did he understand the Parah Udama? Also not.
No. למשה גיליתי, הקדוש ברוך הוא say, למשה גיליתי, לך לא. הקדוש ברוך הוא said to שלמה המלך, I reveal the secret to Moshe Rabbeinu. To you, I'm not going to reveal. Why? חשבונות שמיים. On a pshat of the dvarim. On depth, I think that to understand what's hiding behind Parah Aduma, most probably Shlomo HaMelech cannot get to the depths of it. Chas v'shalom me to say it, but that's how the Mefarshim explain. That to understand the depths and the reason behind Parah Aduma, not everyone can understand. Only Moshe Rabbeinu and HaKadosh Baruch Hu know the secret. You follow? So
Yes,
as a human being, only Moshe Rabbeinu knew and still know the secret. But when the Mashiach come, please God, speedily in our days, and they're going to make Parah Aduma, number 10 Parah Aduma, the final one, and when they throw the ash on us of the Parah Aduma, then our brain going to be so pure and so cleansed, and our neshama going to be so pure and cleansed to understand that. We explained that. That's why it said there, Aduma, that it's 50, the 50 level of wisdom. We explained it at the beginning of the show. Any other question, Rabotai?
Thanks very much.
Sorry?
Thanks very much.
Pleasure. Any other one that want to ask question, please? No question. Okay. In that case, Rabotai, to wish you all a good night, to wish you a Shabbat Shalom. Please God, will be a great Shabbos to all of you. Keep safe. Look after yourself, make sure that we are having a bit of the third wave, not a bit, quite a heavy third wave. Be'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will have mercy on us and Kol Am Yisrael, that will protect us from all different kind of plagues, Mikol tzara v'tzuka, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please God, will send us Mashiach Tzidkenu speedily in our day Amen Ken Yeh Rashon. We'll hope to meet on Sunday Be'ezrat Hashem. We'll do the shiur of 17 of Tammuz, because the following Sunday, the 27th,
Yeah, 27.
fast, and after the fast I cannot give a show, I promise you, because I'm not a good faster that it's easy for me to fast and to give a show. So this coming Sunday, the 20th, okay, we'll explain a little bit of Shvasre B'Tammuz, the 17th of Tammuz. Why are we fasting? To prepare us to understand what's happening, that we can understand why are we fasting. In the meantime, to wish all of you Shabbat Shalom Umvorechet. Please God, you have a blessing Shabbos, a healthy Shabbos. Look after yourself. Keep safe. All the best. Good night, everyone. Shabbat
Shkach,
Shalom.
Rov. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you,
Pleasure.
Rolf.
Shabbat
Thank
shalom.
you.
Thank
It was
you.
a
Thank
wonderful share. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good-
you.
Bye-bye.
Nice. Yeah.